Hello and welcome back to another Spider-Man related video. This is obviously of the Green Goblin, the Toybiz one from 2002. As you can very clearly see, he's missing his toe joint altogether, so that's going to be the focus of this video. I will be doing like a full makeover for this figure next week, like 3D printed glider, new mask, new paint job, the full lot for this guy. But for now, like I said, just doing the toe. So as you can see, I'm just kneading together, well, this kneader-tite. It's also known as green stuff. It's essentially like an epoxy kind of sculpting clay, mostly used in Warhammer and other models like that. As you can see, I'm just trying to get like a rough shape to it, trying to make sure it fits properly and takes up all the gap that's in there. Just making sure it meets all the edges. Like you can see here, just so it like completes the actual form of the boot or the shoe or the foot, whatever you want to call it. Now there is some little overhang there where it goes past where the actual joint is. That's fine because we can clean that up later. So to try and get all the sculpting details like the treads of his shoe, I literally use a drawing pin. And you can see there, is it perfect? No, of course it's not. I'm not a sculptor by trade. So this is just me trying to mimic as close as I can with just simple tools. It's worth pointing out I was actually on holiday for this, which is why the background is so different. I literally bought a sheet of black card with me and enough tools to record this video on a mini tripod, just so I could make sure that there was a weekly upload for this. So you can see there, me taking that pin off screen by the way and bringing it back in, is me dabbing it on my tongue so that it doesn't stick to the kneader-tite, because this sculpting putty, I think it's sculpting putty, has like a really good grip to it. You put a bit of metal on that and it'll stick to the metal immediately, it'll pull it around. So you want to use, if you're going to be doing this professionally, I'd recommend using something like Vaseline and dipping the tool in it. But you can see that I'm also using a paper clip, just to try and get that rounded shape on the end. Struggling very much to keep everything in frame as well, as you can see. But you can see I'm just going around and noticing that the actual figure originally had rolled over edges for the treads, so just matching that as best I can. I also had this very slight detail, which I'm sure will get lost in the paint when I eventually paint it, which is completely fine because then it should match the other foot a little bit more, because I think I made this slightly too obvious, the detail work. But there is a very slight detail around the trim of the actual shoe. And you can see me trying to smooth it out there with my finger just so it's not quite as defined as it was to begin with. So now I'm just going to use this paperclip to run the hole straight the way through the sculpting putty, just so that when it comes to actually running something through to form that pin, I suppose you'd call it, that it's actually able to get through. You can see I managed to find a lamp that would do for good lighting at this point. So once that's dried, I was able just to snap this off. And you can see there, it's kept quite a good shape to it. But there is obviously that like over sculpt, a little bit of overlap. Also managing to find an old scalpel blade. I'm able just to cut away some of the excess. I'd recommend doing this with a proper scalpel, not some old blade that you found. But this kind of highlights how simple some of these fixes can be with just odds and ends that you find lying around. I'm just cutting away these excess bits here, just so it matches the other one a bit better. You get smoother articulation out of it. Just there's less issues and less areas to worry about with this. So you can see we've now got an actual square shape to where that end connects to the original boot. And I'm just tidying it up that little bit more, just again so it works smoothly. Admittedly, not doing a very good job of keeping it on camera. But you can see here what I mean by just cleaning some of those areas up. And then to make sure that it articulates smoothly as well, I'm just going to take some of this excess material off the top, just that nothing catches, there's no paint rub when I eventually do paint it. I'm not taking too much off here, I don't want to take like loads off and make a very obvious gap. I'm just trying to follow what the original one would have looked like. And you can see that I'm quite happy with that. I'm also going to take just a little bit excess off the back, because I noticed there's some gap on the original foot. So just taking this little bit off should help. Not only, again, make it look like the original piece that was there to begin with, but also to make sure that the articulation doesn't run into any issues when it's painted. Because although paint adds a very thin layer, a lot of the time tolerances like that, like on figures, are designed to be perfect to within like 0.1mm. And sometimes a heavy coat of paint will add like a millimeter worth to it. So you go 10 times over what that tolerance is and you're going to jam up joints and things like that. So this is just me being cautious and making sure that I can actually get around the toe articulation. Don't need to worry about it gumming up, don't need to worry about it seizing up entirely. Again, do be very careful if you're using a blade like this, because if you slip or the material you're carving just gives out quickly, an actual sharp blade like this would probably go straight through your thumb. Also do be careful if you're new to this. If you're new to this and you've got quite like soft hands, if you're not used to like working with your hands, because I've been working with metal and different things for years now, my fingers are quite tough. You could cut yourself quite easily by just catching it with the blade. So this is a kind of like a pin from a shirt that I had that was designed to keep it all folded up nicely. With a pair of scissors and a lot of force, I managed to cut the end off of it, and it was a perfect pressure fit all the way through this joint. I believe it was a form of steel. It was like an industrial feeling paper clip. But you can see here, it works the exact way that the original toe joint would have done. I think with a bit of paint you wouldn't even notice that that's a new piece. You get quite a good range, and because it's this flexible epoxy sculpting putty stuff, you've got a lot of durability in there. I need to tighten up some of his joints, but he's pretty much done here. As just a base figure. He can actually stand up again now. Without his toe, he was really struggling to stand up. Any of you that know basic, like, just biology, your toes are part of the reason you're able to stand up so easily, because obviously they push back when you start to fall forwards. And you can see here he's got some loose joints in his ankles. But that whole extra length of toe adds a lot of stability to this figure. But thank you guys so much for watching. Do stay around because I will have the full fix up for him later.